Welcome to this explainer. Today, we are unpacking the fantastic journey of grade 7 modern world history. Specifically, we're going to discover exactly how we transform students from being just passive readers into active, engaged historical investigators. We'll be looking closely at the curriculum structure and the essential literacy skills that make up the modern historian's toolkit. Let's get into it. Here is our roadmap for today. We'll trace the grade 7 journey from the Middle Ages to modern times, unpack the historian's toolkit, explore how we teach valuing evidence, and finally see how this all builds toward college and career readiness. Section 1. The Grade 7 Journey, Mapping the Course. To launch this entire journey, historians rely on a core foundational concept, the timeline. Think of this as a concept launch for the students. Over 3 distinct 13-week units, they trace the evolution of medieval societies, navigate the chaotic shifts of a changing world during the Renaissance, and finally arrive at the complexities of modern times. It guarantees a perfectly balanced, overarching worldview. Now, the goal here isn't rote memorization, just memorizing a bunch of old kings and arbitrary dates. Absolutely not. It's about empowering young learners to become active historical investigators. We are handing them the magnifying glass so they can dig into the past, ask the tough questions, and actually construct the narrative themselves. Section 2. Unit 1. The Middle Ages. The entire first 13 weeks are anchored by one massive, overarching question. How did medieval societies organize power, belief, trade, and daily life? Instead of isolating these cultures, students use this question to compare things like religion and commerce across totally different continents during the exact same era. Take a look at the action verbs required of these students here. They aren't just reading about history. They are comparing civilizations, explaining feudal systems, and analyzing complex trade networks. These act as worked examples of high-level cognitive work, adapted perfectly for a 7th grade mind. By clearly defining massive thematic concepts like feudalism early on, students can really start to spot global patterns. For instance, they act as true historians by comparing the strict code of the Japanese samurai directly with the chivalry of European knights. Finding these historical parallels is an incredibly powerful analytical tool. Section 3. Unit 3. Modern Times. Moving further along our timeline into the 20th century, a new essential question emerges. How did conflict and connection shape the modern world? These two forces become the twin engines driving literally everything, from global trade all the way to devastating world wars. To answer that question, students analyze the roots of global conflict and compare shifting historical perspectives. But the true transfer task, and frankly the most exciting part, is connecting those past events to current global issues. This is exactly where history becomes a living subject that helps explain the reality they see on the news today. Understanding nationalism and its close cousin imperialism is absolutely vital for students. Without grasping these concepts, it's pretty much impossible to understand the underlying, simmering causes of World War I, World War II, and the Cold War. These aren't just vocabulary words. They are the literal forces that redrew the map of the world. Section 4. The Historian's Toolkit, Reading Like a Historian. This quote brilliantly illustrates a major pedagogical shift in how we teach. A history class is simultaneously a literacy class. You simply cannot separate the two. Critical reading of primary and secondary sources is just as important as knowing the historical facts themselves. As students hit middle school, the training wheels really come off. While elementary reading relies heavily on stories and poetry, middle school demands a rigorous pivot over to informational texts. We're talking about deciphering primary source documents, treaties, and complex technical texts. To put that into perspective, national reading frameworks mandate that by 8th grade, 55% of a student's reading must be informational text. This perfectly aligns with our historian's toolkit, relying heavily on nonfiction sources to build real-world reading comprehension. Section 5. Valuing Evidence and Arguments. We use a very clear step-by-step framework for evidence-based reasoning. First, determine the central ideas. Second, pull specific textual evidence to back it up. And finally, evaluate the author's argument. Are those claims actually valid? It's all about training the brain to read with a healthy dose of skepticism. This specific standard is a total game changer. It means students cannot just give a random opinion on why a historical event happened. They literally must back up their historical claims with cold, hard evidence from the texts they study. They have to point to the exact sentence or data point that proves their thesis. Section 6. College and Career Ready. Ultimately, evaluating sources, valuing evidence, and understanding diverse global cultures extends far, far beyond passing a history test. These are the exact, practical skills required to navigate a complex, information-heavy modern workplace and to be a truly engaged citizen. I am going to leave you with this final thought to ponder. How can our understanding of past global conflicts and diverse cultures help us solve the contemporary global issues we face today? You see, when a grade 7 student parses an ancient text or maps the roots of a modern conflict, they aren't just studying the past. They are actively acquiring the toolkit to understand and maybe even solve the global issues of tomorrow. The real question is, what will they build with those tools? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer.